Thank you for tuning in to the Practical Preservation Podcast. Please take a moment to visit our website, practicalpreservationservices.com, for additional information and tips to help you restore your historical home. If you've not done so, please subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud, and also like us on Facebook. Welcome to the Practical Preservation Podcast, hosted by Danielle and Jonathan Kepperling. Kepperling Preservation Services is a family-owned business based in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, dedicated to the preservation of our built architectural history for today's use as well as future generations. Our weekly podcast provides you with expert advice specific to the unique needs of renovating a historic home, educating by sharing our From the Trenches preservation knowledge and our guests' expertise, balancing modern needs while maintaining the historical significance, character, and beauty of your period home.
Today on the Practical Preservation Podcast, we have Craig Meyer from UNICO. Craig, thank you for joining us today on the podcast.
Danielle, it's a pleasure to be a part of your program.
Okay, thank you. So tell me a little bit about your background.
Well, I'm fortunate to have about 35 years of experience in marketing and business development and general marketing leadership for both Fortune 500 type companies as well as privately owned companies. I guess you would say I'm a combination of a right brain and left brain thinker or person, meaning in addition to my marketing and creative communication credentials and my formal marketing education, I have an engineering and technology and kind of an entrepreneurial side with formal education in that space as well. And while I thrive on B2B and B2C marketing, I'm proud to say I have a number of domestic and international patents. My name in kind of the portable power and design space as well.
Oh, very, very interesting combination. Yeah, I say that I'm a preservationist and that I have been full time in the construction industry for almost 20 years, but but right beside the preservationist, I love marketing. That's probably my favorite part of the job. So I definitely understand that dual side.
Yeah, I think everybody kind of likes to play in the marketing space, and there's certainly opinions there, and it makes it fun because I always say the best ideas come from many ideas, and you just kind of figure out what works best for your brand and what works best for your company.
Yes. So tell me a little bit about the UNICO company history.
Yeah, I love our company's history and story. It's an example of the great American success story and what a vision, determination can provide within the right environment or culture. Over 35 years ago and prior to 1985, Joe and Sharon Tagliata had a successful HVAC contractor business. Around the spring of 1985, they, along with a small staff and some family members, started UNICO. And because of their entrepreneurial spirit, their commitment and drive to their customer base, and their dedication to filling the needs of those customers, they identified and kind of filled a void in the HVAC marketplace. And they developed a better mousetrap in the small duct and high velocity HVAC category. They, along with their 5 sons and now 3rd generation of family members, have evolved our U.S.-based business into a family-owned engineering, manufacturing, and distribution business, which is what we know today. And I'm just elated and proud to be a part of it.
That's very interesting. I did not realize that they had started out as from being HVAC contractors, but I'm sure they saw a need that we'll get into, to have modern, climate control for older homes. So I'm sure that was what started them down this path.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that certainly has been in our history and origin, and we've evolved that today, regardless if you have a preservation need or a new construction need, ground up custom home. We really have an option for that consumer or that business.
Yes. So tell me a little bit, you mentioned like the small duct high velocity, but what is the UNICO system?
The UNICO system, it's really, as I said, it's made here in the USA, and there's not maybe one single thing, but the UNICO system has multiple differentiators. They come down to fit, form, finish, and functionality and innovation. Our products fit into a tighter space and seamlessly integrate with energy efficient construction. We bring the highest levels of insulation, air filtration, and inverter electrical use into the market space. And the end result is our end users really experience lower humidity, more even room temperatures, and kind of that draft-free head-to-toe operation environment. What makes us a little bit different, we have air handlers that have an ECM or a variable speed motor, which kind of allows us to customize the system to whatever the preservation need is, or the homeowners for their brand new custom home and structure. We can actually put a laptop on the air handler motor, and with some software that we have, we can customize that airflow experience to the needs of that location, the home, or the business owner. And really, because of the way our system is designed, the air is aspirated or mixed to provide really even temperatures for uniformity. And as I said, we can bring that nice sense of comfort, almost to what people used to get with radiators. So it's a nice even temp and an even airflow.
So to me, yeah, I could see that when you said radiators, it started to make sense to me, because I'm my area of expertise is definitely not the HVAC systems. And I was thinking, when I was listening to you, I was thinking, well, why would you need to make sure? But I completely understand what you mean now, because the radiators do or did give off a very stable heat in all areas that the radiators were on. But we have a forced air system in our 1920s house, and there are rooms that are definitely much hotter than that, because they're the ones that are coming directly off of the furnace. So I could see why balancing that makes a lot of sense, especially with forced air.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
beauty of this is, like I said, we can really tune it. We have
Yeah.
project engineers, we have designers on staff, and we work with each entity individually. The air from our system is delivered very quietly. Typically, it can be as low as 23 dBs or less, and it's very seamless. We have very nice tight air ducts, and the small supply tubing is designed to be as efficient as possible, and really to minimize any sound, like I said earlier, which makes it kind of that soft whisper quiet.
Yes. Yeah. And that's important too. I know that's how most newer efficient appliances are, and that makes the house more comfortable also. And so we talked a little bit about the small duct high velocity heating and cooling systems. I was really interested when I was on your website to see that you have a cold climate heat pump, because I know the colder climates, the heat pumps don't work as well. And so UNICO now has developed a heat pump that will work in cooler or colder
Yeah, we
climates.
have cold climate heat
Yeah.
pumps. I think, the other thing to know, and it's great that you pointed that out, and we appreciate you visiting our website. We have a brand new website, but, the neat thing about Unico is we do have this consultation service, and we have designers on staff. And so we'll go over all the different options that a uh, consumer or business might need. And that could be, as you mentioned, the cold climate heat pump. It could be geothermal, hot water coils. It could be tying into some kind of an electric furnace or a smart thermostat. So irregardless of really the designer needs, we have a solution, and we tend to be quite adaptive, working on what those needs are and how we modify and fit them into that preservation or that other space that is being defined.
Oh, that's really good to know. I don't think I noticed that on the website, but that's really that's really a service
Yeah.
to your clients. So and I know you mentioned your consultation service, but are there other things that make your systems different than the others on the market?
I think for us, there's a variety of things that make us different. As I had mentioned, it comes down to fit, form, functionality, and innovation. We touched on some of those a minute ago. One of the other things I think that makes us a little bit different from others on the market is we have a group of installers and contractors that allow us to really address the needs across across the country. We have over 2,000 contractors that are UNICO preferred contractors, and they've gone through various levels of training. They've gone through various levels of understanding our product from a fit, form, function, and design perspective. And this really gives us some advantages over, what I say, traditional systems or those split systems that are on the market. Um, there's often challenges that are out there in terms of how do you design around various building codes or various building construction forms. And that's where Unico comes in. I mean, we can get into spaces as small as 2.5, 3 inches, whereas you can't typically run a typical duct through there.
Right.
We have just a variety of options in our toolbox that most companies and design firms in the HVAC space do not have.
Yeah, and I think that kind of gets into our next question, the challenges of retrofitting HVAC systems into older buildings, especially buildings that weren't built, for central air, and some of them, if you get really into the older buildings, weren't even built for central heating systems, and you don't want to. Usually somebody that's, I see these systems a lot, even in museums, like house museums, because, you need the smallest, you don't want to damage the historic fabric, but you need to, climate control this space. So, being able to fit into smaller spaces, that does make sense. Are there other challenges that come with retrofitting into older buildings?
Yeah, I think there are. I mean, some of these things have been existing challenges for a long time. Building techniques and technology certainly has changed over the years. We try to keep the original design and integrity in place when designing a solution for that structure. Examples, nobody really likes to see drop ceilings in place 99% of the time. We do not have to install or add any kind of a soffit or drop ceiling when we're working in a retrofit or a renovation. Like I said, our main duct work is very small. But also, I think, we look at the challenges that are out there are oftentimes in the areas of building codes or structural support or aesthetics and cosmetic perspectives. And we even have outlets that can be painted or matched via, stains and varnishes to those existing structures. And so for us, you really have to work around what are those parameters that are code related, what are those parameters that are oftentimes even financial related, what's the foundation of the building materials in place so that we're not minimizing or hurting any structural integrity.
Right.
And then there's always the aesthetics, because everybody wants it to be, as close to original as possible. And we come into play.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, I was on a house tour within the past year, and there were the small discs up on the ceiling. They were painted the same color as the ceiling. And somebody on the tour was like, "What is that?" And I giggled because, it was the HVAC system, but they do blend, and they're very small.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, many of our installations, and we have over 500,000 installations across the country, and we're throughout the world, so we're proud of that in our 35 years of history. But these things can be known or be seen in, like Lincoln's home or in Truman's White House down in the Keys. There's just a variety of options that we bring that other, what I would say, traditional systems or split systems just cannot match.
Yeah, and I agree that the split systems are they're much more chunky and intrusive into the room, and they're definitely more noticeable.
Yep.
Yeah. So do you have any tips for our listeners that would be planning an HVAC retrofit, whether they're, redoing their entire system or just putting in central air? Do you have tips?
I would. I'd say Every project, whether it's new construction, remodel, renovation, or direct replacement, provides different configurations, challenges, and options. I mean, personally, and I don't want to sound biased here, but it's just something that I've learned from being around the business as well as, being someone handy around our own home, is I would suggest your listeners always call our design department at UNICO or their local contractor. And the reason for that is, one, these people see options all day long. So,
Right.
every day somebody is coming in with another type of construction technique. They're coming in with another type of substrate. So we're building this library of more or less challenges or information. And the other thing that we have is we have design software. We have a system that the homeowner can be on the phone along with their contractor or mechanical contractor. And our design technology really allows them to then see an end result with their PC or tablet. Our next generation software, which we're getting close to rolling out, will even be able to, kind of on the fly, be able to show them where the outlets go, how the ductwork can be run. And so this consultation, whether it's through ours or one of our contractors, just really gives you the benefit. Because as I said earlier in the call here, during the consultation, the Unico team can also go over the different options, whether it's zone heat, heat pumps, geothermal, hot water coils, ERV energy, and even now solar. And what I think is the benefit there is, and I didn't mention it earlier, but our system really matches well with the outdoor inverters that are on. So
Okay.
regardless of, if there's another brand outside, we match up extremely well. It doesn't have to just be all Unico from one part of the renovation or reproduction to the other. It can be like, hey, we can work well with a multitude of brands that are on the market. So that's the other tip for those consumers or those business owners out there, or somebody doing a renovation remodel in the preservation space, is give us a call, because there's probably something that we can do to add benefit and value to your current project or installation because of the history and experience that we've seen.
Yeah. And you can't I think that was great that you highlighted the challenges and options, because it's true. Every project that you're on, you see a different solution or a different, different material used, and it just kind of gets added to your database, and then you can share that then when somebody else is facing a similar problem. So I think
Yep.
the experience does make a big difference in the success of a project. So, do you see any? I don't know how much you get out into the preservation world, but do you see any trends or challenges in preservation?
Yeah, I don't get out as often probably as I should or maybe would like to, but we have people on the staff that do, and our contractors, as I said, are working side by side with designers and architects all day long. And maybe not so much a trend or challenge, but what's constant and has been around for years, and it's really being amplified as our country gets older and as just various neighborhoods are getting older, is keeping that integrity of the original design in place from a structural, aesthetic, and cosmetic perspective. It
Right.
really hasn't changed, but it's probably becoming more and more the forefront of people's thinking, because when you look at things, there needs to be a foundation for an update or a renovation. And it is, depending upon the different parts of the country, dependent often as to what materials are available or what were used back when these, what I'd say, previous structures were erected. So, there's not always one thing, but as I had mentioned earlier in the podcast, the various regulatory requirements and codes and design parameters you have to work within often present challenges. And so, again, it comes down to experience and understanding what tools one might have at their disposal, and how we can add value without taking away from that inherent design or that previous structure. At Unico, we just have a really deep history of working on renovating homes and buildings as well as new construction, and we have a lot of buildings that are on the National Historic Registry. So it's really part of our pedigree, I would.
Yes, and I think that true preservation is retaining what's existing. So it makes sense that keeping that integrity of the original design, and the smaller spaces that your systems take up and things like that really helps to keep that integrity.
Yep.
rather than
And out of
having
sight,
to
out of
add.
mind. I always say nobody really knows what brand of battery is in their cell phone, but it's the first thing you want to make sure that it's always on and working. Well, it's the same way for HVAC systems. You might not know what's behind that wall, but you want to make sure everybody's comfortable and it's providing the aesthetics that live up to the credentials of that particular.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. And we have a client that is historical society, and they raised all kinds of money for, the pretty stuff that everybody could see. And they're like, now we have to raise money for the furnace. And that's not as easy of a sale.
Yeah, it's the first thing you notice when you walk in. If you're not comfortable, somebody's going to be complaining or saying, "What's going on here?"
Yes, definitely. So should someone contact UNICO directly, or should they go to the local contractors on your on the website? How should they get in contact with you?
Well, as I said earlier, Danny, we're fortunate to have a nationwide global list of UNICO preferred contractors and partners that do number well over 2,000 in the U.S. market alone. If your listeners visit the unicosystem.com website and click on contractor locator, they can usually find a locator that is very near them. If for some reason they can't, they can certainly call the UNICO customer care number at the 1-800 toll-free number, and we can connect them with a certified contractor, or we can get our design expert right in front of them.
Okay.
That would be the easiest way to do it.
Yeah. Is there anything I forgot to ask you? Is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to share, or that I forgot to mention?
No, I think as far as like offers and updates for your listeners, UNICO is constantly working with contractors to provide incentives and promotions on a local level that meet the needs of their locale. And there's also seasonal needs there. Certainly, with the U.S. being a very large country, there's different seasonality timing, and
Oh, that
so
makes sense.
often
Yeah.
that seasonality specials are really at the local level. We leave that in the hands of our trusted contractors.
Okay.
But
Very good.
again, if they can't find a local contractor, just have them go out on the website or visit our website, because there's going to be promotions based on their location and seasonal requirements.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for your time and your knowledge. I learned some things today.
We appreciate being part of your programming, and we invite your listeners to visit unicosystems.com.
Okay, and we'll make sure on when we post this that all of your contact information is there also.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again. Let me know how we can help you in any way. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and really look forward to helping you in the future.
Thanks for listening to the Practical Preservation Podcast. The resources discussed during this episode are on our website at practicalpreservationservices.com/podcast. If you received value from this episode and know someone else that will get value from it as well, please share it with them. Join us next week for another episode of the Practical Preservation Podcast. For more information on restoring your historic home, visit practicalpreservationservices.com.